Level Snap in 2026 is looking completely different than it did 6 months ago. I last made my tier list then, and looking back, some of those takes have aged a lot better than others. I'll focus on newer players' experiences with these because that's likely the people who are looking to spend their tokens, and I just want to reiterate before we begin that these are my opinions, so don't take it as concrete advice, and I encourage you to explore other takes as well before spending your hard-earned tokens. So I apologize in advance because this video is probably going to be fairly long and maybe controversial. Some of my takes on cards tend to be. I can already tell that some of those will be upcoming soon. Feel free to give me your opinions in the comments because, as I said at the start of this video, this is all opinionated. So we're starting off with Adamantium Infusion. Adamantium Infusion feels like a higher skill card, so if you're looking to get it, I think I'll sit it in mediocre. It's pretty decent. It definitely runs in those combo style lists with things like Man Spider. I think it's less important than Man Spider, and because you can get Phoenix Force fairly early, it's easy to replace this card. I don't really see it running too high. And yeah, I'm going to try and cut my explanations slightly shorter here, I think, because there's like 30 more cards than there was 6 months ago, and that was already a long video. Anyway, defeating the purpose by talking. Agamotto. So Agamotto is a really interesting card. It adds a new sort of archetype to the game. Where does it sit though? Probably somewhere around here. I think it's getting more attention recently because King Idri is seeing more play. And some more spell things seem to be happening, skill, whatever they're called. So I'm going to just sit it in mediocre as well. Agent Venom. I like this card. I really do, but I don't know, it's sitting in a weird place right now, where there's some cards out there that are just doing what it wants to do better, and it's not seen real meta play in a while. It does feel like a strong card though. It's just a weird one to want to put in bad card. I think it probably has to sit here as well. I might reorganize these at certain points so that like the ones I think are slightly better are more like that, but we'll have a look. Ajax. Now next season, the new Scorpion is coming out. This video should, if all goes according to plan, be out before then. Do I think Ajax... I don't know, this card seems to have fallen a bit recently. It had its archetype takeoff, but then even when things like Lady Bullseye came out, it didn't really do much. So we're looking at an interesting list here. Also, I do apologize, some of the stats are slightly off on these cards. They should mostly be updated, but it's because all these images were uploaded a couple of months ago, but just a heads up. Goliath. I think Goliath still stands as a strong card. It's going to be one of those cards that always comes back around to being in the meta in some shape or another. This might fall further down the strong cards as we go, but where it stands, I think this is a good place. Ancient One. Do we have to sit it here? I think we do. This card really needs a buff. I tried running it in a couple of lists recently, I think with Muse, and I had some fun with it, but it still felt like it wasn't really pulling its weight, so we'll stick it here. Anti-Venom. I actually think this is a really good card. If we're talking about Toxic Archetype, this card does what you want in Toxic, but like 10 times better. I'm surprised this isn't run more. All it takes is a Luke Cage to counter it, and some metas would just ask for a Luke Cage anyway. I might actually start running this in a deck, thinking about it. I'll sit it here for now because I'm pretty sure that's where it stays. Aranya. So with this card, I'd say decent. Move is in an interesting place, and this season Move is going to be going higher and higher, right? I will try and do what I did last time, where I sit one card of the archetype higher, so that's what the card I recommend getting basically. I'm going to keep it in decent for now. Archangel. I think there's like missed opportunities for Archangel. I can't remember if it's 2-4 now, maybe it is, but I know the card it brings back is a 4, so maybe it's still a 2-3, but I do think in the future this card could be part of an archetype. Right now, where it stands though, it's not really doing too great. Ares. I think Ares goes around to... It is a card with some pretty decent power output, and I did try it in a Daredevil Shadowlands all the way around deck recently, and it performed pretty well. I think just for the fact that it could end up just being a pure 4/6 is the reason that not a lot of people play it, but I do think it's pretty good. Arishem. Arishem has to go in must buy, mainly for the fact I said this was aimed at new players. It is a very strong card. pretty much giving you an entire archetype to build around. Aurora, how this card has soared since I rated it. I rated it before it released, and I think I put it in decent, but I genuinely think it probably has to go in must-buy. Hello, just a quick one. So I recorded this video before the balance patch, and I haven't got around to fully recording it yet. So in case I say a few things here and there that seem a bit weird before the recent balance patch, that's the reason why. They adjusted Aurora and Jubilee, and I think kind of where I ranked them is more or less where I would rank them. I'll come back at the end of the video and discuss if I should have moved them slightly depending on their adjustments, but just bear in mind in case I say anything in the video that seems a little off, that's probably why. Because it's an archetype defining card that will always be in the game, I don't think there's any way that this can't be in the game, because it always just buffs a card from each, like activate, on reveal, etc. I mean, you barely understand how the card works, I imagine. I don't think I have to explain every single one of them. We will be here all day. But must buy. I'll keep Arishem here. Same with Thanos. Whenever I list him, I'll probably put him here, but I'll put them towards the end because they're just like cards I recommend new players getting. But Aurora can sit there for now. Baron Zemo. I really like this card, but it's a weird archetype to want to make popular, which is probably why it's not doing too great. I do still think you can do stuff with it though if you want to. Maybe it goes here. Yeah, probably. Bastion, a card I still don't actually own. Seeing as Victoria Hand was kind of overrated when she was popular and is now not popular, this is sort of where it sits, and maybe in some Cerebro decks, but Triton the Terror, I guess, is now taking over. People wanting to play Cerebro. I would sit it in decent. Yeah, put it here. It's a fun card. Black Swan. A Black Swan is the queen of a card that looks like it's going to be viable when a new card releases, but is always the first card that is cut. I still think this card has potential, especially further down the line. Reducing all of your 1 cost to 0 cost is very good. I think it's just the issue that you have to play her turn 4 or before, right? Because she affects your next turn. That holds her back slightly, especially when you're wanting to build tempo, which is why I think she's usually the first card cut from a deck. But we'll keep her here. Blink. Blink has to go in S, right? Blink has been one of those cards that recently, whenever like a big deck has come out with all the chonky level cards, it's always put in that. It works perfectly with Electro. I guess because it is more of an archetype and not necessarily needed for every deck, I could possibly end up putting it in A instead of S, but I think I'm comfortable sitting it there for now. Bruce Banner. Probably the last card used in an end of turn deck. Because it doesn't have that scaling ability, it's only really a one-time proc. Because it's not guaranteed either, it sort of sits around here. Bullseye. I genuinely think Bullseye's deck is underutilized in the meta right now. It does actually do pretty good things. I made a Mother Ascani version of it recently, and with the only downside being that if MODOK is the left card in your hand, you can't really do much about it, but I would definitely say that this card is undervalued right now. If I put it in strong, I think I'll sit it to the top of decent. Kyera. Now, in a meta where everybody is running 1-drops and people are running Killmonger, and Kyera is still not played, I think she still has to sit here. I don't know what I would do to this card to make it viable. I think the fact that Shang isn't really ran now as well, slightly worse because of that. But yeah, I think purely off the fact she's not ran, people would probably rather run Armor if they were going to run anything like that, or just run Cosmo to stop the effect. Sadly, as a 3-4, it's a big tempo dip when you're trying to run things like that. I wonder if she was a 1-drop with the same effect. People would play her because the 1-drops are the things you need to synergize with, so she'd probably be too strong. Which is funny how changing a card that much would change its entire viability, but I think I'm happy putting it here. Caliban. Now, Caliban sits in a couple of decks, and it's decent at what it does, but because it's not really soaring through the ranks, I think I would sit it around here. Captain Carter. This card is doing insane things right now. There are many, many empowering things based off the past few seasons, really, that have caused this card to soar. It is probably on their list, their watch list, but for now, while it's still hot, I will put it in S. Cassandra Nova. This card was a scary one when it released, but recently has not really been doing insane things. This card wasn't even seen when people were running Shadowlands Daredevil, which is an interesting point to make. I still think it's pretty good. Maybe it's underplayed like Bullseye, but I don't think it's as good as Bullseye, so I'll set it here. Chamber. Now, Chamber is almost definitely not a 2-3, if that's what that stat says. It's a little hard for me to see the image, but it's 2-1. Strong, I think. It got nerfed a couple of times, but still sits in that deck with Blink. Probably here is better. I would definitely recommend picking it up if you like those style decks where you're putting down a bunch of higher cost cards, like with Doom 2099, things like that. Pretty solid card. Clear. Now, Clear has actually been given a bit more attention recently. I put her in decent because I still don't think she's insane or anything. I'm a little biased towards the card, so bear that one in mind. But especially if you have Marble Boy, this card's been doing pretty well. Colonel America. Now this is a weird one because it is a discard card that I think is decent, but people tend to not play it because it's slightly awkward. I suppose you'd rather run things like Morbius in those lists, and then look at this first. It's a card that doesn't really work too well with the fact that it could be discarded as well. But I think I'm pretty happy with that. Next we have Copycat. Copycat is actually pretty good, and in a meta where people are running a lot of cards with good texts, again, probably a criminally underplayed card. Putting it in A, does that feel too high? Debatable. Feel free to debate away. But I think it's kind of a tech card in a way. You get an idea of what your opponent's playing, you get an idea of a card they're not going to draw as well. Those are points that you should probably bear in mind. It has a lot of snap value. Being able to snap if you know your opponent's not drawing like the Mr. Negative. I suppose that's probably a bad example because you wouldn't want to play the card in that case, but you get my idea. Cosmic Ghost Rider probably sits here. In a world where most tech cards have been neutered to a degree, Cosmic Ghost Rider sits atop that throne, being able to just wipe the text off any front row card. Sits him perfectly in a deck that's looking to just run a tech card. Definitely, I think he's going to stay here. We'll see if anything overtakes him upcoming. Not entirely sure. We have a massive list still to go through, so I should probably hurry up, but I'll sit him there. Diamondback. Starting to feel like I did Ajax a disservice by putting him here, but Diamondback is probably more usable than Ajax in the lists that she wants to be in. You can play her out early, Malekith can pull her out, things like that. Ajax is a finisher, but Diamondback is in her own right, so I think I would probably play her here. But I just realized something like Jack Flag, right? Jack Flag isn't really played, which leads me to think Diamondback is sort of a similar vein to Jack Flag, pretty much the same stat value. But interesting. I'll keep an eye on that. We have Doom 2099, which I think probably sits around here. Probably has to go above Blink, realistically. It is an archetype-defining card of its own right. And it's always going to be a very fun card to play as well, which is why I would recommend it for new players. Even if you just have a low collection level, if you have a deck that's running like basically playing on curve, Doom 2099 is always great, especially if you have Zabu or Psylocke, which I think you just get by default. Definitely keep an eye out for this one. Dormammu. Now, for the same reason, you could argue me placing him up here because he creates an archetype of its own. Sadly, the archetype isn't as great, so I'm going to put him in strong. But I would say keep an eye on this card. I think with a few cards that came out recently, and a few cards that are coming out soon, this card could start to actually get higher and higher in the rankings. I put him at the bottom of strong card for now because it's obviously a keep an eye on rather than recommend grabbing him straight away, but interesting one. Dragon of the Moon. I wanted to like this card. Sadly, it is very mediocre. There is one list it is sort of viable in. Could put it in bad card, but the fact that it can get pretty high scaling is well, I'm going to put it in mediocre. I could put it slightly higher because I genuinely think it is better than people are giving it credit for. Especially if you build your deck around it not absorbing any power from your cards, or if you have Luke Cage as well. Probably meta defining based on what the opponent's playing, because if they're playing like Surfer, for example, this card's not really going to do very much. I think odd cards are the cards people tend to play more than even ones, but still a card with more value than people give it credit for. Drex, Avatar of Life. Now, I think this sits around Copycat's level, maybe slightly below, because it's mainly used in the Doom 2099 decks, but it is a card that can scale up to a 3/10 relatively easily. It can also win your locations, and it causes the opponent to kind of hesitate on what they're doing. That's why I'm putting it one higher. Definitely a good one to keep an eye out for. Elixir. Elixir's living in a world where something like Archangel released recently, which I think is better, and still didn't do too well, so I think Elixir is probably going to have to sit at the bottom if this exists again. It is possible that some cards in the future could do well for this card, but I can't really recommend it while it's in the state it's in. Emperor Hulkling. This is a weird one again. It's a 6-drop that, if it rolls the right thing, could win you the game, but at the same time, betting on it rolling you the right thing just for your final turn play is a big ask, which is why it's going to sit at the bottom mediocre for me. In Sabanur, I think it has to go in strong. Since this card got buffed, it's pretty good. It's basically a weaker Blink, and if you run it in the right kind of deck where you've got a bunch of low-cost cards, it can do very, very nice things for you. Clearing out your front lane, it adds 3 power to its own lane as well, that people tend to forget about. Very, very nice card. Esme Cuckoo. Yeah, probably goes here. It's a card that has an interesting ability, but because it's so random, it's hard to really argue for it. In a similar way to Agent Venom, it's just buffing cards in your deck, but now that the ceiling of power level of cards is going up, I mean, most 1-drops are becoming 3 power, right? Which is probably why something like Agent Venom feels weaker, because 3 power is sort of the baseline for the lowest cost of the game. It does feel premium, I suppose. I could still see that argument because there are still a decent amount of cards out there that are 2, but Second Dinner is kind of bumping them up one by one. Same with 2-drops, they're mostly going from 3 to 4 cost now, not cost, power. So for that reason, similarly with Esme Cuckoo, obviously there's things like Iron Man and all of that that could high roll from it, which is obviously very good, but I think there are better options for that. Eson. So Eson lives in a world where he has a strong ability, but because of the whole like generating things from hand thing, he feels slightly weak. It is weird because if you think about Mother Ascani's done just really amazing things recently. If you Mother Ascani something, Eson would just pull it down. But I guess it's a lot to bank on your last turn play for, which is why it's sort of awkward to play. But a very, very nice card regardless. I think I'm happy putting it in decent. Ezekiel Sims. I could see an argument for this card being better than people give it credit for. Because I do think it could be, but purely because of Silk. Silk exists in a way that you can guarantee a move, right? And that's what you want. With Ezekiel, you can't guarantee a move. He acts in a similar way, but you have to keep playing higher power onto him, which restricts your play pattern, etc. But I think for that reason, I'll put him higher than I was going to. Fallen One. Fallen One is a card that, if the right meta were to come about, this card would be insane. Right now, that meta doesn't exist. You can Symbiote Spider-Man it, you can Fury it, you can Gwenpool it, you can do all these things to give you extra energy. It's a big ask for turn 5 because you have to hit those things to be able to go into turn 6. I did have fun with the deck with it, but its power level sits similarly to Adamantium Infusion, I would say. Phantom X, this is a 4/7 now, not a 4/6. I think I rated this lower before. I ran a Phantom X deck that took me to Infinite a couple of seasons ago, and I still think it's a very underrated card. Probably not quite a must-buy because it has a lot of like specific cards you need to own to actually get its deck to work. And again, because I'm aiming this towards new players, that is the main reason I'm putting it here. I could see reasons for it to go into must buy though. It is an archetype defining card on its own. But because that archetype is so specific on needing certain cards, I'm just trying to think about it. Would a new player have most of those cards? Things like Gambit, things like Blade, things like Marrow. I guess Marrow and Wild Child are the two that I couldn't really be certain on, and they're probably quite necessary for this card. Let's bump it just above Chamber. How the Mighty Have Fallen. This card was very good before. It probably goes here, if I want to be fair to it. It's got a strong ability, but since it lost the Cannonball combo, it has fallen off. It could still exist in those like discard from your opponent's hand style lists. It's an interesting one. If you like how it plays, get it. If not, it's not really doing much in it in the current meta. Fin Fang Foom. This card, it's a weird one. I don't like it. I think it's the main reason I stopped playing for a little bit. But at the same time, I'm also thinking, was it overnerfed? Maybe. I'm not sure. I'd say maybe giving it 7/12 back and have it hit only one front enemy row card. But then people are going to start playing it again because of it getting a buff. So maybe just leave it as it is, honestly. If I had to sit it anywhere, here I think is fine. It's still pretty good. Maybe around here. I think I have to be realistic and sit it at the top of decent. Firehair, this card is very fun. Very, very fun. And again, for the same reason I said keep an eye out for the other Destroy cards, I'd say keep an eye out for Firehair. She is the lead of the Destroy cards that isn't a Destroy deck kind of card. It does still surprise me to this day that some of these cards are in Series 5 still. But I was waiting on a tier list. I was waiting on a series drop before I made a tier list, but that doesn't seem to be happening anytime soon. So we are where we are, and I am rambling again when I don't have time to. Frankie Rainova. I did have a deck that worked for this card. Recent seasons have made her even worse than she was before. So sadly, she's going to have to sit around here. Frigga is now a 3/3. Was pretty solid before. Definitely better than Bastion, which means she'd probably have to go here. She just worked pretty well in the deck she's in, but kind of got cannibalized a little bit by Mother Ascani existing. Pretty happy putting her here. Galacta. Now, there's been a lot of buff things recently, and Galacta has not reared her head to actually be played in any of those decks. It's better than these things, though. Yeah, I think that feels right. Might have to jumble them around a little bit, but we'll see. Galactus, again, Galactus is a deck-defining card of its own. It is a little harder to play and requires a few more higher level cards. The same reason I'll put it where Dormammu is. It, as I say, it's an archetype-defining card, so probably worth grabbing, but I would still recommend these other things before getting it. Galactus First Steps still sits within S tier. It's a very strong card. I don't think I've seen it played very much recently, but it sort of has its own archetype. It was played a lot in the Wiccan style lists, which Wiccan hasn't really been seeing much play recently. It is very good though. I am happy putting it here. Gambit, Horseman of Death. Now this is an interesting one to rank, because it is a strong card, but it has fallen off a little bit. I still think it's better than people give it credit for. It completely counters Horde decks, which is why I think Horde decks haven't soared to the top of the meta. It has been keeping those in check as its natural predator. A very, very interesting one though. I guess even for lower level players, if you have something like Agent Coulson or whatever, even if you have Valentina, is Valentina on this list? Why can I not read? No, I don't think so, which means she's probably on the Series 4 one. Too much research to have done before this video. But it would have taken me a lot longer to get this video out, and I already know it's been going on for a while. Gilgamesh. Now, Gilgamesh is perfect for Zoo decks, but Zoo decks just aren't really there right now. Probably put it here. Similarly to Firehair being perfect for her style decks, but just not really being there. Goliath. Goliath is a very nice ongoing card. Probably one of the better ongoing cards I'd recommend you grabbing. Doesn't sit above those cards though, I don't think. It's going to be interesting looking at the comments for this one, because the last time I made this video, I didn't have nowhere near as many subscribers, so I don't think I got anywhere near as many comments. This will be fun. Gore. Gore is a 1 power card now, no longer -1. Apologies on these not being updated, but yeah, they're a little bit behind on those. Gore is good, but not seen as much play. I think because it became a 1 cost, it almost got nerfed in negative style lists, which is why it's just not really been played. But I do think it's very solid, can easily get up to like a 6-18 in games. People just are overlooking it, especially when you make those lists where you pull 6 drops onto the board. I guess people just look at Gore and think that it's not that high when it genuinely is. For that reason, I think this card is pretty good. Better than Finn. Yeah, let's see how that plays out. Gwenpool. Pretty good card. Sits in a similar area to the Bullseye sort of things, and because of how random it is, it makes it a little bit awkward to play sometimes. But if you're going for Zombie Galacti decks, definitely grab it. Hawkeye Kate Bishop. Now this card was a soar to the top of S tier the last time I put it in a tier list. I don't know if it sits all the way up like it did before. Probably here. Yeah. Giving you 2 1-cost cards that you're not 100% sure what they are, but they're still fodder for things. It's a very good card, don't get me wrong. I mean, obviously it's an S tier. I don't know why I'm trying to speak out its flaws. Realistically, it does earn its position here. Headpool. Now, Headpool is a destroy card that isn't really needed. It can help if you don't have other things, I guess. Similarly to Colonel America, that's probably the perfect spot for it. It plays a similar role. They're both good for their archetype, but cards that are likely to be cut early. Herbie. Herbie actually has some decent play patterns, probably slightly better than I would like to rank it. Because of its RNG, it makes it slightly awkward. It is good in Aurora decks and probably like rock decks. I'm surprised it isn't played in the Empower lists, because dishing out power to the 2 other locations or buffing itself does feel like it could be pretty good. But it's still an activate card, and activate cards are more difficult to play, I would say. But I'm pretty happy putting it here. High Evo. Now, I'd put High Evo in must buy for the same reason. I mean, it just upgrades a bunch of cards you'll own already, but Arisham is just better than High Evo for that. And High Evo recently hasn't really... I don't think it's seen much play, because its power level has dipped whilst everything else has increased, but it could have a comeback. I could definitely see that, and it did get buffed recently, with some of the other cards in its list having their base power increased. So yeah, definitely recommend that one. Hope Summers. Now, Hope Summers did fall off, but has seen a bit of a resurgence. She's being played in the what are they called, like Silky Smooth style decks, and definitely earns her spot there. Could see a comeback, I think, and this is where I would recommend getting her. Yeah, pretty happy with that. Probably not going to see playing Surfer, I wouldn't say, because playing a 3-drop, then another 3-drop on top of it, giving you... maybe. Anyway, I'm going to go too much down a rabbit hole if I start describing her as a card, but I'm happy with that. Human Torch First Steps is a good card. Yeah, it is a good card, but it tends to get cut. It's not really played in end of turn decks, I think, because it's 3-drop and they tend to like 1 and 2 drops for Thena. And it only doubles its power once, is probably why its exponential growth isn't as high as those cards, those decks would like. But it sits around Arania's level. Hydra Bob. Hydra Bob is actually... Yeah, Hydra Bob is played in a decent amount of decks. It's a 1/4, especially after Martyr got nerfed. It's the best 1-drop, kind of. Your opponent has the ability to snap to move it, but it adds that bit more interesting flavor to the game. Yeah, I'm happy with that. And for the king of move cards, at least in Series 5, I think I'm making that statement before I properly looked at everything, but I would believe that's probably where I'd be happy with. The king of move cards being Hydra Stomper, meaning it probably goes here. If you're wanting to play move decks, and I mean, I will take another look at this card after this season. I do think it's going to probably skyrocket with all the move synergy things going on. Definitely grab this if you like move. Infinity Ultron. I wanted to like this card, I really did, but sadly, even after its buffs, it doesn't really do what people are wanting it to do. I did try it in a list with Wolverine, and it did decent, but then I removed it from the Wolverine list. This is the Horseman Wolverine, and it's sort of, yeah, it's a sad one. On that note, I do think I'm going to move Ajax up to here, because Ajax is actually better than a lot of those cards. IWFS. Archetype defining card. For that reason, I would put it higher of strong cards. Must buy, probably not quite as much. Her list isn't as strong right now, and you do need a lot of end of turn cards to make her work. But I think I'm pretty happy with that. Iron Patriot. Iron Patriot, I think, unlike Kate Bishop, still earns its spot here. Iron Patriot is just a solid card. I mean, it's a 2-drop that gives you a card and then allows you to do more things with that card. It is a random one, obviously, but surprise value as well. You'd be surprised the amount of time opponents just forget that you have a discounted card in hand. And with Tarantula, I think it is, coming out, this card's only going to get better. Still, definitely sits towards the top of S tier. Speaking of top of S tier, we have Iska. Now, Iska hasn't done as good as people were fearing her to have done. She has fallen slightly recently, but it's still just an insane card. Definitely earns spot towards the top of S tier. Is it better than Captain Carter? Probably not. This card's just doing insane things right now, so I'll probably set her there. And this brings me back to the Jack Flag situation, which I guess perfectly goes with the other 3 drops that scale other cards in the area, or decrease in Diamondback's case. I think Diamondback's better, probably better than Colonel America as well. The Jack Flag, just even in a season where everything's being empowered, it wasn't being played, which is interesting. It technically is better than that. Decent would give it that standing. I think mediocre would probably be where it would be if I'd imagine it didn't have any play, or well, bad card. But yeah, pretty happy with that one. Jeff. Now, I will warn you about recency bias because it is the season and this card has been everywhere. It's definitely better than N7R, better than Goliath, probably better than Gambit. Then we're starting to approach territory where it's probably not better than some of these things, but it's very good. Does amazing things. Probably one of the perfect cards for empowerment if you just need to get power out on other locations. And I think it's going to do things this upcoming season as well with all the move synergy stuff, so definitely recommend that one. And I will say, if this video goes up before the season's over, that should give you a chance to probably see if it's worth grabbing the season pass. I do think it is, so I'll add that little note on there. Regular Jeff. It's going to be a move season again, so probably going to do decent. Now it's a 2-4, I think even better, and it also has the added bonus of catching your opponent by surprise, playing into locations that you can't play other cards into. One of a kind, really. Jim Hammond. This card did insane things when Star-Lord was rocking the meta, but now Star-Lord has dropped off of this card. Hell with it. From a great height. Bottom of decent card, because if anything ever happens with extra power, this card's going to do crazy things. It's the 1-drop scaler for its archetype. Similarly to if Fallen One were to take off, this card would just be added to the deck more than likely. Joaquin Torres. Now there is an insane bounce card coming out this season. Let's put it here. Not going to synergize with Joaquin, but this card's more likely to see play because of bounce. So I will put it towards the top of decent. Jocasta. Jocasta just the queen of activate decks. Sits here. Works amazingly with Phantomex, works amazingly with Invisible Woman. Now you do kind of have to play it in a combo-y kind of way, where you'll play cards on the same location, but you need to make sure you actually have cards out that can benefit from its effect. But when it goes off with those cards in play as well, it just does insane things. Definitely an amazing card. Worth picking up, is better than Fin Fang Pimp. Is it? Yeah, it's better than probably where I'd sit it. People do not like this card, but I, on the other hand, really like this card. So, do I have to be smart about my placement? I think it's really good. Definitely check out my Jubilee video on the deck that got me to Infinite and gave me like a consistent 70% win rate. Because of that, I want to rate it higher. People are going to hate me for this one. People are going to hate me for this one. I genuinely think it's very good. People are calling for this to be a 3-drop. If this is a 3-drop, then things are just insane. I don't think this ever becomes a 3-drop. If anything, it becomes a 4-3, which I think is the safer way to buff it. But because the deck I've been playing, I've still been playing it to this day, it's still got a 70% win rate. I haven't really been playing ladder too much, which is why I haven't been climbing, but this card is going to surprise people, and there's probably one that's going to have people in the comments. Juggernaut. Now, Juggernaut is a card that... Yeah, okay, next one. I'll give it a little bit. It's a card that... 2-8 is good, but I think, as KM said it best, the deck that this card would be best suited in doesn't work with the deck. Now that isn't his direct quote, but it's basically what he was saying. Aurora, this card would be perfect in Aurora, but Aurora does not buff objective cards, and according to the devs, never will. So sadly this card sits in a sort of limbo territory near these cards that just aren't really played. For Hori, I would say keep an eye on this card after the buff season, especially with Jubilee, not Jubilee, Venus and a couple of other things. This card has been doing better things for me. I would sit it above Gwenpool. But yeah, in those archetypes, it's been very, very nice. I would suggest keeping an eye on it. Kang, even after Kang's buff, Kang is just an interesting card. It's not really done too much. King Eitri allows you to get another Kang for free, but because you're diluting your deck so much, I'm just going to put it here. I can't bring myself to put it any higher. Karen Page, this is an interesting one. The deck that Rez made, I played her in and she was decent, but because she didn't really take off in a season that would benefit her taking off, the kind of like buffed season, I do think she is probably better than people give her credit for. But I'm going to have to put her here. The bottom of decent. I could see arguments for putting her here. Maybe this is where she belongs. And speaking of, I think Sandra Nova probably does. And Human Torch right next to Fallen One belongs there. Juggernaut. Yeah. I realized I was going a little bit too top heavy. This is decent. This is mediocre. So that makes more sense. For that reason, Kang has to come down as well. Khonshu. Khonshu is just a great discard card. Probably one of the better ones I'd recommend picking up from Series 5. But what series I was doing for a second. I am comfortable sitting it here. If you're looking to play discard, this is just the card I recommend picking up. Kid Omega. Now, Kid Omega has done interesting things recently. I believe it's doing better than it was before. It has a couple of decks it fits into, and I was trying it in my Phantomex list. I think it did pretty good things there. I'm happy to sit it around here. It's definitely a top end of decent card. Then we have Kraglin. Now, Kraglin has been a meme up until recently, but because now it can become like a 3/9 without much ask, the fact that it banishes a card is sort of negated, really, if you think of it being the bottom part of your deck. I genuinely think it's pretty decent now, which is funny to say, how a few points of power really do that to a card. It's 3/5 now. This says 3/3, and I imagine that's probably the outdated one, what it released as. But yeah, pretty good card. So next up we have Lady Bullseye. Now, I think this card is pretty good, actually. It's not really seeing as much play as I would have expected it to for how good I feel it is. But I think I'm happy to put it, just put it right next to the other bullseye. Probably just below, somewhere like here. I think it's pretty good. Definitely keep an eye out on this card if you like what it does. Yeah, that's about all I really need to say. Lin Li. Lin Li exists in a couple of archetypes. It is an awkward card to play as well. For that reason, I'll sit it in the middle of decent. It goes into those Victoria Hand style decks where you're playing like multiple of them to get different swords out in different locations. It's a pretty fun card. If you like that kind of thing, definitely keep an eye out for it. Putting it here, I feel makes sense. Lockheed. Lockheed went to a 2-2. 2-2 is a pretty strong stat line now for what it does. Probably going to see a bit more play, but I don't think really goes too high. Feels decent enough. Luna. Now, this card is still seeing play everywhere. Luna is just a strong card. No way about it. It's a 3/6, which is premium by default, and it gives you an extra energy every turn. A lot of the time you can just cancel out the energy that would be given to your opponent, and you can just work with it on your side. Honestly, a very, very strong card. Probably sits just before Iska. I feel like I'm comfortable with that. Madam Web. Now, Madam Web is a very good move card, not quite as good as Hydra Stomper. Probably goes around here. Going to be another move season again, so keep an eye on this card. Magus. Magus got a buff, a pretty meaningful buff as well. I think what it does for the decks it's in now is irreplaceable. It's definitely a unique card on its own. Probably not one I'd necessarily recommend getting, in which case probably has to go here. But it's a lot better than it was before. Makari. Makari is a weird one. You sort of want to put her in a deck where you're emptying your hand, and she's too small for Surfer these days. Let's see, mediocre. Also because I want to try and flesh out the mediocre stats. But if ever there's a deck where you just want to empty things on your hand, keep an eye out for this card. Malekith. Malekith is actually pretty good. A lot better than people give him credit for. I feel like I keep saying the same catchphrases, but anyway. Better than Ensabana. Yeah, it's a deck thinner as well. Honestly, a lot better than people give it credit for. I'm happy putting it here. The decks it goes in is sort of restrictive. You have to put it in a deck where you have a lot of low-cost on reveals or low-cost cards that you don't need to play out before the end of the turn, because the fact that they only get played by the end of the turn makes them slightly awkward. You don't really want ongoings or anything. Slight bit of deck building around it, which is Invisible Woman area, I suppose. Very nice card. Man Spider. This card is very strong. It belongs to its own archetype almost. For a similar reason to Adamantium Infusion, I don't think I could put it much higher. People underplay this though, I think. But it's also very easily countered by someone having a single tech card, which I guess is why it doesn't take over the meta. Very nice card. Marvel Boy. Marvel Boy is the king of Zoo and also works amazingly with things like Clear and a lot of the one-drop stuff that's been going around recently. I think I'll put it here. Very, very nice card. Recommend getting it. Works with Invisible Woman as well if you want to put it in that style list. I say King of Zoo because it would be if Zoo was a thing, but it has a lot of other homes as well. Maverick. Now, Maverick, when it released, would go right up into S tier, but I still think it holds a very strong position in A. In those decks, you're playing Captain Carter or you're playing like Stick or whatnot, and those buffs you're dishing out are going to be given to Maverick anyway, so the fact that it's lost 1 point of power isn't really the end of the world. Very, very nice card. Merlin! Oh, my boy. I think I rated Merlin at the top of S tier. Sadly, I still want him to be S tier because I do think he's very good. He has lost too many points of power. Maybe he has to sit here. It's top of A. It's a sad day. It is. I think he's seeing a lot less play than he deserves, though. He does have a lot more utility than that. Yeah, I'm happy with this. Misery. Misery is good. Mr. Misery. Yeah. Probably goes there. Works very nice in certain archetypes. Actually, let's put her slightly lower. because the archetypes she's played in aren't really seen much these days. But repeating on reveals is something that's always going to be viable, so I think keeping her in decent is a good shout. Mr. Fantastic first steps. Crazy how making this a 3 card makes it a lot less useful, huh? I am happy with that. Mockingbird is still a Series 5 card. That is crazy to think about. Just a very good 6-drop. Yeah. Limited on the decks it can go into, but maybe it's at the point where it needs to be a 6/10 almost. Like, it's very good, but if they want it to see the play that it probably needs to, it probably has to go up. Similarly to Fin Fang Foom, I suppose, so I'm happy putting it there. Moira X. Moira X is the discard version of Hydra... Discard? Destroy version of Hydra Stomper and Marvel White. It is basically the destroy card I'd recommend getting. I need to keep keeping an eye on my other monitor because this list is like expanding now, so I need to make sure what I'm talking about is on the screen. But yeah, probably not quite as good as those two. Another card I don't think I actually own. Like 5 cards I don't own. She is one of them, and Bastion is another one. But yeah, anyway, probably put her here. Now, Monstro is an interesting one. This card came out very recently. I think it's better than people give it credit for. Decent card, makes sense. It helps a lot in those lists where you're needing to know what's on top of your deck if you're needing things for, like Kraglin, for example. Funny, I just noticed they're next to each other. But yeah, not much more really needs to be said. Moon Dragon. It is a Doom 2099 card. I think it's not really... I don't know when the last time I saw it was. I think I've seen Doom played a lot more than I've seen this card played. I could be wrong, but it's still the next card I would grab after Doom for that archetype. Moonstone. Moonstone is a very good ongoing card. I think it's purely because ongoing hasn't really been seeing as much play recently, but when it does, this is definitely a card you're going to want for the deck. Maybe goes up slightly. Generally an undervalued card, I think. And Man Spider deserves to be above those two, realistically. Morgan Le Fay. Why did they make this card? Like a what? A 3 cost? Yeah, they made it a 3 cost when it used to be a 4 cost, so now it doesn't get pulled by Airwalker. Similar fall off to Mr. Fantastic. I think this card needs to be higher. And maybe this card. We'll juggle the rankings around a little bit later, but yeah, I'll keep an eye on those ones. Muse. Muse is a good destroy card, but just not really as good as it needs to be. It's an archetype that constantly has scalers. This card falls flat in a lot of areas. Nomura. Nomura is decent. She's got a couple of good decks out there at the moment. And basically becomes a 5/17 when pulled off correctly. I did play a deck where you'd Wong, Nomura, Odin, and then those cards would just be huge, and there's not really much you can do about that. Let me put her here. Nimorita. Now, Nimorita literally just released, just to give you an insight on when I'm making this video. She's pretty good, but I don't think she's too good, so I'll sit her around here. Yeah. Nico. Still sits all the way up here in S tier. Honestly, just an amazing 1-drop. Fits in so many different decks. The fact that she's as random as she is and is still as useful as she is an interesting thing to think about. But yeah, I think, yeah, I might put Aurora above Iron Patriot, but we'll decide that later. Nightmare. Nightmare exists in a deck that just keeps kind of not really needing him. It's weird. Like, whenever that deck takes off, like, because Techno-Organic Virus exists now, this card became a little bit useless, but I guess it just have the surprise value. Mediocre feels like a good spot. Nocturne. Don't really need to say much about this card. Maybe it does better this season when movable cards are a thing. Maybe we'll put it here. Penny Parker exists in a couple of decks. Again, might see more play with the movable season. I think here. Polaris. I want to like this card, but realistically it sits around here with the cards that could have potential but just don't really. Prodigy. Prodigy is actually just a good card, isn't it? It's been doing well. Can be fit into so many different archetypes. Yeah. Maybe just above Chamber works. Prowler. Now Prowler, again, because it's another move season, could probably do some crazy things, but where it stands right now, probably around here. Again, it's better than the play rate it gets. The fact it gives you 2 like spells to use, similarly to Hawkeye, Kate Bishop, allows it to go up this high, and those spells disappear, they don't take up board slots as well, so I think by default that makes it better, but because it's a 3-drop, set it slightly lower, maybe I'll put it here, because the fact that its skills can go down to 0 cost as well is just something people tend not to think about, but it's very nice. Proxima Midnight, do not know how this card is still in Series 5. That is insane. I actually unlocked it with my Series 5 pack I got for buying Season Pass, and I was like, whoa, this card is still here.Maybe I'll put it here. It's a somewhat decent discard card, but the fact that it's probably going to drop whenever they do actually do a series drop, I'll have to put it here. I would say the same thing for Jeff, the regular Jeff technically. This card is almost definitely going to drop out of Series 5 whenever they do one. Well, if they do one, but we'll keep an eye out. Punisher War Machine. Now for a card that I don't think is as good as its play rate, it's actually going into a fair amount of decks and seeing some decent play. I'll have to put it here. From a Tut, this is kind of more of a meme card than anything, but when it's played and it does insane things, it catches you off guard. Here. Red Guardian, pretty good tech card, but just outclassed by Cosmic Ghost Rider in every sense. But I think I'd be doing it a disservice not to put it in strong. Red Hulk. Red Hulk is just probably the best stat stick 6-drop, apart from Galactus First Steps, which is why sitting it here feels the best. Red Wing. Now, I did play a Red Wing deck recently that was doing pretty good things. Not going to be a meta staple by any means. Probably put it here, but saying it holds up its own archetype in a way. Pretty good. Rocket and Groot. Genuinely think this card is actually very strong, earning the strong card category. And with a move season coming up again, it's definitely going to see more play. Sage. Sage is a card that, whenever it's played, its stats that it gets really catches me off guard. I think, again, a card is better than people are giving it credit for. If you duplicate it with another Ascani, for example, and then surprise play on the last turn, you can get like two 12s or even higher, which is nuts. Probably doesn't see as much play as she deserves, similarly to Gore, but just tops over into the strong card. Sam Wilson is a card that refuses to not be played in a lot of decks. Definitely earning his S tier category. Scarlet Spider. Now, this card, I think I rated it decently low before, but after Shu Lao, it started to do good things. Sadly, pigeonholed to a deck like that, and even with all of the buff things recently, it's not really taken off. So, belongs around here. Scorn. Now, I think I mentioned Khonshu is the best card to get for discard. Scorn is a close second, meaning I should push Khonshu up to here. Scorn is very nice for discard and what it wants to do. Definitely recommend it. Now, Scream. Scream is an archetype card on its own. Maybe this season, again, I keep saying this, but move is going to be going around a lot this season. Scream is good when it pops off, but if you're relying on you moving the opponent's cards, it doesn't really do as well. But it is just good, I think. I think I'd be doing it a disservice to put it much lower than top end of decent. Selene, sadly a card that just couldn't do what people wanted it to do. Feels bad putting a lot of these cards into bad. Like, I don't think it deserves that. Maybe put it here and I'll move Proxima up. That feels about right. Cersei. I love Cersei. I still do. Sadly, the deck that I played heavily relied on Merlin, and Merlin got nerfed a lot. So Cersei sort of fell off, but this card is a lot better than people realize. I guess in a meta where you're playing a lot of boosts, Empowers. I lose track of the term. A lot of empowers. This card isn't that great, but can surprise people, definitely. Maybe it sits around here. I just love the card. I'd just be biased towards it. So, Shadowlands Daredevil. This was a card that surprised me. I didn't expect it to do as well as it did. Let's sit it here. It was a pretty good season pass. It fits into an archetype that was sort of fresh, and people ran away with it. Which is leading me to think, do I need to drop Jubilee down slightly? People are going to be mad at me. Let's put it here, just slightly. I still want it to stay within strong cards. Shang-Chi. I want to like this card, but again, in a meta recently with so many empowerments, this card not seeing play, I think, just puts into perspective how awkward the fact that it clogs your deck is. I think you need to rely on actually getting the card to trigger the 2-drop. Maybe if the 2-drop was a 1-drop, maybe then it might be slightly better, but I think the clogging your deck is the problem. Shuleo. I mean, this card dominated the meta. I don't really need to say too much about it. It has since fallen, but it still earns its spot within decent. Probably above Scream. Definitely above Finn. Yeah. Or bottom of Strong. I still think it's strong. Probably criminally underplayed for what it is. Yeah. I'm happy with that. Silver Sable. Silver Sable is a weird one. Still have in Series 5, but I found myself saying that a lot. Yeah, and only really used in bouts. Probably here. Sparky is a move card that goes into those like combo-y kind of move decks, but other than that, feels a bit like Headball in that it's a move card that would get cut from a move deck, if that makes sense. Now Speed, I think you still have to sit Speed and Strong, but because Wiccan's really fallen off, it probably goes towards the top of Decent. It's just a good 3-drop. Like, you have 6 turns in the games, that this can become a 3/9 if you play it well. Similarly to Kraglin, but obviously easier to pull off. If Wiccan was ever to take it off again, Speed would just be played in the deck by default, so probably sits around here. Spider Noir. A card that asks a lot of you, but is actually not too bad. I would put it around here. Spider-Punk. This is a card that wasn't really played outside of its season. It is definitely going to see a comeback with this next season, though, I would say. I think it's pretty good. I played it in my Red Wing deck where you can move it a couple of times and it very easily becomes like, I mean, what, by one move it's already a 3/7. If you count the negative on the opponent's side. 2 moves it's a 3/11. Definitely don't overlook this card. Again, another card I think is better than people are giving it credit for. Starbrand. Starbrand is just really used in the TOV style lists. Other than that, it's kind of awkward. I guess you could run Nightmare or Zabu, not Zabu, Sauron. But yeah, just a bit of a weird one. Because it's a 3/10, it's the highest 3-drop in the game by default stats. And yeah, if you like those kind of decks, that's where I'd recommend it. Stardust. Stardust is a strong tech card and still feels like a strong tech card, and if there's ever a meta where you need it, you kind of want to have it. Fits into a decent amount of decks. I think I'm happy with it. Doll of Master of the Sun, and how outdated these stats are for it. It is now a 5/7 that gives you extra energy. I played it recently, it didn't feel too bad, but it did also feel like I needed Wong to make it useful. Again, I think it's better than people give it credit for, you know? Put it at the top of decent. Storm. Storm really just took off at the end of her season and then got cut from a lot of decks for things like Venus, right? I think that's sort of sad. I'll put her here because I do still think she's a pretty solid card. Strange Supreme. Now, Strange has seen a couple of buffs and a couple of opportunities to do well, and he just really hasn't. I have a personal vendetta against this card because there's just so many times that whenever I play him, he pulls something from a location I needed to win the game, and when I play against him, he does the same against the opponent, so I end up winning. Slightly awkward card to play, but again, has his own mini kind of archetype. For that reason, I would keep him around here. Strife. Strife is a card that actually does better than its play rate would suggest. I played it in a deck with zombies that just was insane. I had a crazy high win rate with this card. And again, people just don't play it, and I'm not sure what the reason is for that. After its season, it just disappeared. But if you like the card and you own it already, give it another shot. Maybe it's because Finn fell off, and because of that, people just tied the two cards together. But look at Arnim Zola and look at Zombie Giant Man. I'll probably make a video on that at some point. As long as, where is he? Gambit Horseman doesn't do insane things. I genuinely can't see him. Which is worrying. Oh, he's there. Because he belonged around here. Yeah. He probably belongs more like that, honestly. But, yeah, comfortable with that. Submariner. A card that I wanted to be better than it is, but realistically lands around here. Which means I should drop some of these down. We'll keep Jack Flag there. Just because I want to keep the list sort of flowing without it being too top or bottom or like middle heavy. Yeah, happy with that. Spider-Man, the Superior Variety. This is a pretty good card actually. Again, one that people are overlooking. Sits around here. It gives you an extra energy for free just from having a card that's empowered. The fact that it hasn't really been played in this season is almost criminal to a degree. It does what Hope Summers does, but I think almost better. They kind of step on each other's toes in a way. They do similar but different things. But yeah, happy with that. Surge. I still think Surge is crazy. I love this card. Maybe I'm crazy for putting it this high. Just let me know if you think I am. Maybe sits like that, but I don't know. I really like this card. You get it down on turn 2 and the stuff it can do is crazy. Just discounting a card and buffing it and then continuing throughout the game to just give you some very nice tempo. A card that is unmatched and with quick draw in 2 months might actually be pretty good. Surtur. Surtur belongs near Gilgamesh. It's an archetype that just doesn't really see play nowadays because the power level has fallen on it. When we're playing TOV lists with 10 drops, I guess you don't really tend to play many 10 drops in TOV. But still, Surtur just isn't played in those lists, which should probably put into perspective. But the fact that it can be a 3/11 on just 2 procs is like Spider-Punk level, but the fact that the type of deck that it's in just isn't really there right now is the reason why it's lower. Symbiote Spider-Man. This is just a good card, isn't it? In fact, it can do some crazy things just by triggering an on reveal a second time. Sit around here. Similarly to Joaquin Torres, it's just a very good card. Techno Organic Virus. It's now a 2-drop. I'll have to put it here. Again, it's an archetype defining card of its own right. Now it does something slightly different to what it did recently. You have to have Quinjet to make it work as opposed to Mobius, which is a much better way of making that card work, I would say. But yeah, pretty happy putting it in must buy. Thunderbolt, Thaddeus Ross, and then Thanos. We have Thanos. Before I put him top of strong, same reason for having like cards like High Evolutionary and Arisham. It just creates its own archetype. The only reason I'm not putting it up there is because I believe you can get it for free as a new player just by progressing to a certain level or doing challenges or something. I'm actually unsure of how that works, but I'm pretty sure that's the thing. Being first steps, this card has really gone up from where I would have ranked it before. Towards the top of strong. I mean, the fact that it just becomes a 5/10 by default is good enough. The fact it becomes a 5/10 and most of the time destroys something just makes it that much better. And it goes perfectly into the Aurora style lists. Probably don't need to say too much more than that. Athena. Athena is bottlenecked to Invisible Woman, kind of these days. because its power level is lower. But it's still a pretty good card. For a 2-drop that can scale up to the heights that it scales, it's never going to feel like a bad card. I'm happy putting it there. Toxin. If Bounce was better, this would be higher, I guess. Similarly to Scream, with Boomerang coming out, the fact of the matter is that could be the case, but I'll leave it where it is for now until we can actually see that outcome. US Agent is a weird one. It feels like it should be better than it is, but it's just not seeing any play for some reason. And now with all the decks just having low cost cards, the card just really isn't needed, so I'll keep it there. Venus. Could be recency bias from me, but I think Venus is very good. Fits into so many different archetypes, and I don't even want to know about the stats this can get to. It's a 3 cost, but every empowerment, it just gives an extra empower, so at the end of the day, this could be like a 315 or even higher than that, and we are not saying no to that. And the fact that it fits into so many archetypes definitely deserves its spot here. Victoria Hand. Again, an archetype defining card, but as many people have said, she's probably overrated, which brings me to place her here. But again, overrated, but still strong. She's sitting within like a pretty solid batch of cards here. We're almost towards the end where we have Viv Vision. Viv Vision is a 3/4 now. I genuinely think this card is better than people are giving it credit for. A 3/4 is much better at winning its location than it was before, and the fact that it just does what Nakia does for free and then can continue to do that every turn. Honestly perfect. People are really hyped for Tarantula. It's slightly a weaker version of Viv, I think. I'm tempted to go nuts. I'm so tempted to go nuts. I'll be reserved, okay. I'll hold my position back. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. As long as it's in the top 10, I'm happy with that. Warlock. Again, better than its play rate suggests, but looking at all of these cards, I don't think it deserves to really be above them. I don't know why it isn't played in High Evo. It feels like it should be. But maybe it's because High Evo isn't really played. Curious one to keep an eye on. War Machine, again, played in the Blink Electro ramp kind of lists. Put it around here. It's not as good as Blink for that, but still pretty solid card. Weapon H, I don't know. This feels like you would cut this in this card before you would cut Colonel America. Yeah, I'll put it there. Weapon X. Yeah, again, similar problem, but recently it started to do a little bit better. Maybe just above Fire here. White Widow, again, earns its spot in bad card. It's just, its ability doesn't really do much these days, and the fact that you would have to pair it with like Red Guardian or Cosmic Ghost Rider just makes it feel very weak. Then we have Wiccan, that again belongs in an archetype of its own, but its archetype hasn't really been there recently. Probably around here. Still pretty good, but though keep an eye out for this one. Wilson Fisk. This card is very good actually. And with Tarantula, as I said, coming out recently, coming out soon, I'm getting my words mixed up, I've been recording for like an hour and 20 almost. Yeah, this card's pretty good. Don't really think I need to say too much more. A 3-drop you can get out on turn 3 if you're doing decent. I guess with Martyr's nerf recently it makes it slightly harder to do so, but I'm not going to knock the fact that it's a 3/9. Wolverine. Again, another card I think is better than people give it credit for, but still I can't put it too high and strong because there's just been some things come out recently that just feel better than it. Zorn is a weird one. It's a move card that isn't really played very much, and I don't see too many uses for it. I guess like Red Wing, but even in that deck I decided not to play it. This is another card I don't own actually, thinking about it, and one that I'm not too sad about not owning. Zombie Captain Marvel. Zombie Captain Marvel does decent things in the deck you want her for, and after her buff recently, probably underplayed for where she belongs to be. Zombie Galacti. Again, similarly to Thanos, is an archetype defining card of its own, but because you need to have a lot of cards for it, I'm going to put it within strong instead of must buy. Zombie Mr. Fantastic is actually a fantastic card. Don't know if I need to say much more than that. It's great for zombie decks, but just fits into other decks as well. Anything that generates cards, anything that wants multiple cost of cards on the board, anything that wants multiple bodies on the board. There's just a lot of things this card can do, and for that reason, kind of has to sit here. Maybe goes above Merlin, honestly. And Zombie Scarlet Witch. You need this card if you want to play zombies. Zombies have been fairly decent recently. It's just a shame that with Gambit still prowling around some places, the deck can't take off. Maybe that's for the best, because otherwise this card could do insane things. Maybe we'll put it here, put it in strong. I think that's where it deserves to be. Whew, and with that, we have the tier list made. So yeah, I'm going to go through this shortly, but I hope you guys did enjoy the explanations, because if you have skipped right to this point, you will miss those. And it probably explains why I have some cards where I have them, but some of it is probably self-explanatory, and I look forward to your comments. Let's quickly go through it. The top 10 are the most important ones. We have Cosmic Ghost Rider. Does it belong there? Maybe not. You know, realistically, Cosmic Ghost Rider probably belongs here. Nico being the strongest card in the game is a crazy thing to think about. Whether I fully believe that to be the case or not stands to be reasoned. Surge, I'd place Surge over Cosmic, but Cosmic's close. Then Carter is very good. Iskra above Aurora, maybe not. Venus above Iskra, you know, I actually kind of think so. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's my top 10. Yeah, I'm content with that. Then we have things like Luna, Doom, Hawkeye, Galactus, Blink, Techno-Organic Virus, yep, and then those two for their archetypes. Honestly, I'm content with that. The fact that this list is so top-heavy really shows that cards are in a good spot right now in Marvel Snap, and I definitely have to take my hat off to the devs on that. I know I've been doing videos recently where I'm like making cards that aren't played in the lower ranks viable, and obviously I mean no disrespect to the devs by doing that, but it's just interesting to see that so many of these cards to me still feel like they're mediocre or above, which is a nice thing. I don't think I'd lean too heavily on really adjusting many of these other than if they're at the bottom, but shaking up the metagame too much is also a problem, I suppose, because then things could become stronger, you know. But where are we? In terms of all of these, I am pretty happy with this. I'm keeping an eye on it. I would like quickly breeze through this, but just in case anybody looks back and they're like, what the heck, you put Thaddeus in strong card? You know, I want to avoid that if at all possible. Rocket and Groot, very good. All of these feel strong, honestly. Drax could probably go up a few. Put Drax here. Feels very good. Yeah, I'm keeping Jubilee there. I'm sorry, but I am. So editing Supexa once more. So the changes for Aurora would probably bring her like around here. I still think she's very strong, and I think that keeps her within the top 10, but just dropped her down a few points. And because I already really liked Jubilee before, now she's a 4-3. I think genuinely I'm going to put her probably just below these guys on very high of strong card. 4-3, exactly as I called it, funnily enough, but that makes my rankings. That's all good. Decent is sort of interchangeable to a degree, but most of these feel like they belong in decent. I think Jack Flag is better than people think, you know. All three of these cards are actually better than people think. Can't, in my right mind, put Spider Noir in decent. It's unfortunate because it's a nice card, but Rama Tut then probably belongs here. Yeah, I'll keep that the same. Mediocre cards. Yeah, when it comes to mediocre cards, these all look like the first card I would cut from the deck. Ajax deserves to be higher realistically, and for the same reason I think Warlock does. Yeah. And the bad cards make sense. So, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. It was a long one, so I apologize for that, but thank you for joining me along the journey. It meant a lot. Please let me know what your opinions are in the comments below, because I know most people are going to do that regardless. If you enjoy the video, I do new card releases every week. Pretty much cover all the Series 4 ones, apart from ones I genuinely do not think are very good. But talking about Triton, I might get around to him at some point. I apologize for taking a while on that. But yeah, if you want to stick around for the future content, do drop a subscribe. I do other kinds of videos where I go through talking about the cards, as I mentioned before, that aren't really seeing much play, and how I would improve them. And I also do a couple of other style videos here and there, like these tier lists. And I'm looking to branching out soon to a couple of other things. I'll see how that goes. And also, when draft mode comes out, just a heads up to anybody who is around, I will be playing the absolute crap out of that, because the way that it's shaping up right now looks amazing. But also let me know if you want me to do a video on draft mode, because there's been a couple of leaks. I don't think many people have covered it, but it could be an interesting thing to talk about. And I am losing my voice, so thank you everybody so much for all the love, and I will catch you all next time.